the genres have been changing, and so we suddenly have the hottest books on the market right now. The hottest genres going are brand new genres, romantasy and cozy fantasy.
I have a
That
cozy fantasy that
did you get that one about
Legends and Lattes.
Legends and Lattes?
Yes, I
That's it.
just bought it over at Paper Crane on
It won a
Friday.
Hugo Award.
I know. That's why I
I
got it.
wasn't
I was like,
expecting that. It
hey.
sounded like, well, this sounds like Shrek. What the?
Yeah, kind of, but it is. Yes,
And
I'm excited
I
about it.
thought, I
It's
thought it was just kind
soft.
of a dumb book.
Yeah, I think it's because people want some softness now. The life is hard enough, and they want something that feels more like a hug in a book
But
than something
now
that's
the
deeply existential.
publishers want nothing but that
I know.
and Fourth Wing.
Yeah, and
And
fourth wing.
yeah. And so there's tons of that stuff being published, and we can't deny that it is really taking over.
hmm
And and it really, so what I was saying, there isn't much science fiction being published. What is being published isn't getting much promotion from the
hmm
publishers because it's not what's selling.
Yeah.
You know, science fiction has taken a back seat to
So
everything.
why don't we start with something that's was influential in pop culture and kind of started that ball rolling?
Well, we did one of them, Akatar.
Yeah, Avatar. But then, like, let's go back older. Like, Princess Bride is the first one coming to mind.
Okay.
So Princess Bride would be a good one. That's a romantasy. It's
Okay.
comedy romantasy, but it's a romantasy nonetheless.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, what else? Let's start thinking about it and figure out what we can kind of sprinkle in there that kind of leans towards classic stance,
hmm
but kind of is the thing that started it all.
But I kind of would like to mix in a little more current,
Mm-hmm.
both science fiction and other stuff that's very popular right now that
Mm-hmm.
could be the future classics.
Okay.
You know, but also the science fiction because, like they say, nobody's talking about it. There's a reason nobody's talking about it. People want romantasy. They don't
Mm-hmm.
want science. They
Yeah.
don't want hard science fiction
Yeah.
like we had in
I gotta read.
before the 1970s.
My friend Jerry has been writing books. He
hmm
has two vampire that are kind of probably lean into that romantasy genre. Twilight kind of is the romantasy that started it all, though. I don't really want to break
Yeah,
but maybe we should. I don't know. But he would be a good one, I think, not
I
just
got
because
this one because I thought it sounded interesting,
like
and I love the
Avatar.
cover
Yeah, that's
and title.
beautiful.
Um,
Beautiful. And I love
but
the pink purple.
so far, it's very much just a gothic romance,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like Wuthering Heights,
Mm-hmm.
Jane Eyre,
Yeah, that
but
kind of stuff.
a little more supernatural. But it's not clear what the supernatural is yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm halfway through it, but it's
Mm-hmm.
not clear that there's some kind of something that the girl has is in touch with, some kind of um
Other power,
yeah,
spiritual
like
thing.
in touch with the spirit world
Mm-hmm.
because she talks to her mother all the time, and her mother's dead.
Or she's just
And, but her
crazy.
mother, she's
Yeah.
not crazy. No,
Okay.
her mother tends to say things to warn her from time to time,
Mm-hmm.
and her mother's always right.
Yeah.
And there's this guy that lives, he spends most of his time in the tower. It's at a university,
Mm-hmm.
and the university is this old gothic castle like
Mm-hmm.
place, and it has these towers, and he spends most of his time up in this tower with this
So
piano.
it's like a dark academia gothic romance.
Dark academia gothic romance because of course she falls for him,
Of course.
and he's this brooding dark dangerous
Mr.
person.
Rochester.
The last student that he's a professor, but the last student that got involved with him killed herself, and
Oh,
so
okay.
everybody's telling her not to have anything to do with him, and of course she's just immediately drawn to him.
You're so dark and broody.
Yeah, but then there's something else in it where at this university these people used to there was this group of students
Mm-hmm.
that were capturing people from the local village and killing them in like satanic ceremonies.
Yeah.
So some of the other students went and put a stop to it and killed all these students
Oh my gosh.
and buried them.
Oh man.
And
So they're
so,
all on the property.
well, yeah, their spirits are supposedly there, but so far they haven't put in an appearance.
Okay. Interesting. Oh.
Yeah, it's pretty it's the writing style is simple. I wish it were. a deeper writing style like you would
Mm-hmm.
get from Le Guin or Bradbury or
Mm-hmm.
um, Charlotte Bronte,
Yeah.
but it's not. It's a very current, easy to read style,
Mm-hmm.
which
It's not
is
necessarily a bad thing.
yeah. I mean, it's not bad writing. It's just
Mhm.
not.
Since
Um,
we're recording this, you should probably edit this into an extra video because this is great.
okay,
But yeah,
but I mean, that's this book just came out and it
yeah.
right away hit the bestseller lists
Mm-hmm.
because everybody's eating this kind of stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know yet if this is really that good of a book, but everybody's eating it up.
Yeah. And quite honestly, too, like, I love Jane Eyre. I love, like, Wuthering Heights, I don't really love, but I understand the impact it had.
Hmm.
So that doesn't surprise me that we're coming back to this sort of thing.
Hmm.
So
Well,
the ebbing and flowing of
those books
taste.
have been very popular. The Jane Eyre, Wuthering Heights, Rebecca, those
Mm-hmm.
have been very, very popular books.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just makes sense that this whole genre is popping up that kind of draws upon those influences.
Mm-hmm.
Except they go further. It's explicit in
Yeah.
the sex scenes.
All right. Good for it.
Yeah.
That's what the people
Everybody
want, a
seems to want.
spice.
Yeah.
Just a little spice.
Yeah. Where you don't get that in Jane Eyre or
Mm-hmm.
Rebecca.
But
Because
the
they don't do
romance
that.
is still there.
Yeah.
Romance is still there.
Yeah.
The heart-throbbing romance.
Hmm.
But yeah.
So I mean that kind of stuff it's huge and I've just been wondering is it really appropriate to put it on Telltale the way we've positioned ourselves or should I maybe start a second thing with it? The only problem with starting a second thing is that this is not so much a cozy fantasy but the
Mhm.
romantasy is aimed very much at 20, 30 something women.
I don't
Are they going to
necessarily.
accept an old guy talking about it?
Well, I think if we keep doing our duo videos and stuff, and we can present it to the audience too, and be like, "Hey, what do you think of this? Would you like us to see us do more of this kind of thing?" We'll still do the same stuff, but we'll sprinkle in some stuff here and there because we might position ourselves in a great place where we can have more topic conversations about this
Hmm.
sort of thing. And we position ourselves in a manner that, because we are about good literature.
Yeah.
And if the public is considering this good, we need to start analyzing why.
Hmm.
And I think that's appropriate for us to do. Plus, I mean, we also have the design element. This book is beautiful.
It is.
We have great things to talk about in that aspect as well. So I don't think
Hmm.
it's outside the realm of Telltale itself.
Okay.
But and it might give us an opportunity to see a new audience that we
Mhm.
hadn't had before and capture them and get them interested in maybe some of the classics that started it all. And that's kind of why I think we should go back to some of like the old romantasy sort of books before they were a thing and they were called
Yeah.
that, so to
Yeah.
speak. Because then we're capturing that audience, but we can say, hey, we know you like this, but here's the book that started it all.
Hmm.
Or here are a series of books that started it all, where this started becoming popular.
Well, and realistically, in the late 60s and through the 1970s, there were a lot of Gothic romances. They were kind of Jane Eyre type stories.
Yep.
There were tons and tons of them that all had covers of a woman fleeing from a
Evil force of some kind.
an old
Dracula.
house
Yeah.
in the woods with the moon behind it. I mean, it was always the same cover. And
Hmm. Lots of
yeah,
lots of werewolf random things and vampire
we can
stuff
talk about
sprinkled in
any of
there.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because that's really that's kind of a romantasy
and
too.
the Dark Shadows kind of stuff.
Hmm.
That's where this is all coming from.
Yep. Yep. Yeah,
So
Dark Shadows would be another.
yeah. So those books have
Hmm.
been done all through the years. You know, Rebecca, we've never done anything by Daphne du Maurier.
Not yet.
Rebecca, Jamaica Inn,
Hmm.
you know, those were
Hmm.
Alfred Hitchcock films
Yeah.
and very popular stories.
And you
Phantom
can
of
get
the
that
Opera.
Southern Gothic style in there too, because that's kind
Yeah.
of happening now as well. You get that more like Southwest, Southern Gothic
Hmm.
style romantasy alternate universe stuff that's happening these days.
Yeah.
Kind of sort of like what's it called? The one we keep wanting to read that I've borrowed from you with the vampire guy and the book club.
Oh, yeah. Southern Book
Yes.
Club's Guide to Killing
Yeah.
Vampires.
It's
So
almost a romantasy horror gothic
yeah, but
thing.
that's a little bit different because it's a statement about gaslighting,
Hmm.
which is why I thought it was so
I
brilliant
know, I gotta finish
because it's like if the guy wasn't a vampire, he'd be like any guy gaslighting women, going around just trying to
reading.
screw with them,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
And women do that too.
Yep.
Um,
It's true.
it is so relevant to real life, though, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the perfect person to read to review a book like Gothic Canon, though, is Samantha, but she won't do video.
Mm-hmm.
And I suggested ways that she could join me in videos and stuff like that, and she still doesn't seem to want to do it.
Yeah.
But she knows all that stuff. She knows what great books are coming out before
Mm-hmm.
they come out. She's already got them
And
in
I've been paying
pre-order.
attention to them, but they just haven't, it's not something we have talked about.
Hmm.
So I am more than happy to start delving into that
Okay.
because I have enjoyed those dark gothic romances before with Jane Eyre and things like that.
You
So
should
it's not
probably read
impossible.
this when I'm done with it then.
All right, perfect. I will
And the
gladly do
author's
so.
name is really, that's not her real name. It can't be, but that's what she goes by, Runix.
Runix.
Okay.
All right.
And it's been
It's like
pretty,
Lemony Snicket all over again.
I guess.
Do you know who Lemony Snicket is? Definitely.
Yeah, from the movie though, I've never even
The
seen
series
the
of
movie.
unfortunate events.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's not who wrote it. That's just a character name.
No, that yeah, that's the author's basic
Yeah.
his pseudonym.
Hmm.
But yeah.
Okay.
All
So if
right.
that's something, yeah, I want to do, even whether how we work it in with all that I'm reading.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also reading The Way of Kings, which is big because Samantha wants me to read the second book, Warbreaker, and wants me to get through the whole series by next fall when book 5 of that series comes out. That's her
Good
ultimate
luck.
goal. Is she wants me to buddy read. She's read The Way of Kings, but she
Mm-hmm.
hasn't read any more than that.
Yeah.
And so she was bugging me to read it. I said, "Oh, all right." And then there's this other one. How does it feel? It's another Fey romantasy.
Mm.
I've got it. It's not available on Apple Books. It's only available on Kindle. So I had to get it on Kindle.
You know,
How does it feel? Infatuated Faye, book 1. She read it and really wanted me to read it because book 2 comes out
I think we also need to read the
like
Taco Bell
Thursday.
erotica that just came.
Huh?
So Taco Bell has a newsletter, and this went viral. Taco Bell has a newsletter, and a woman wrote an erotica story, short story, using Taco Bell products in
Well,
the
yeah,
erotica.
because that's the emoji for women right now.
But the whole point is this newsletter does not, it has a 2% acceptance rate for outside literature and information. And this woman wrote this thing and got into the Taco Bell newsletter.
Mhm.
And it's a big deal that happened. I think we should read it just to be like, even if it's to make fun of it, the fact that like that's along the lines of a Paris review acceptance rate.
Mhm.
Like that's a big deal. So I think we should
Well, anything that
try
they
some of
think will
those like
promote their
gimmicky
brand, of
things. Yeah.
course. So
I think we should try some of those gimmicky things too, but
okay.
just to kind of
Let me
throw it in
know
there. So.
because most of the stuff is catching me by surprise. That's why I say
Mm-hmm.
Samantha is she, I come across something, I say, "Hey Samantha, have you heard of this?" And she says, "Yeah, I already read it. I,
Mm-hmm.
got it on pre-order 6 months ago." And it's like, where have I been?
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching all
Yeah.
the videos. I never heard of this thing.
Kimberly and I keep talking about that kind of stuff too. So it might be one of those things where I can bring in Kimberly to be a guest with us and we can talk about it with you.
That
And
would be
you can
okay.
give input if you have it so that she and I can hold the
Even if it's
conversation.
something that I haven't read, if it's something that
Yeah.
you or her or both of you have read, that's
Mm-hmm.
fine.
Yeah. Because I really do want to finish the Evelyn, what's it called? Why can't I think of it?
Evelyn.
The Seven Husbands of Evelyn
Oh,
something.
Seven Deaths of Oh, no, that's a different one.
The Seven
Seven Husbands of
Husbands.
Evelyn Hugo.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay.
I
It's
want
getting
to
a lot
finish
of
that.
good reviews.
Yeah, I got it. I have the book. I own it. I
Okay.
just got to read it. So, but yeah, I think.
I'm trying to slow you down as far as what I'm
I
throwing at you,
know.
so that you have time to do, because you've got a whole
Yes.
list of stuff you've been going to read for the last
Yeah,
3 years.
I have a
And
file
start,
sitting next to my bed of at least 13 of them right now.
but
Just
I
waiting.
got you going on Naked Lunch because you said you wanted to read it. So
Yes, I do want to
I
read that
thought
one,
I
and I
better
have
just
started
save
it.
time.
But it is a lot of. It's so coded. It is so coded.
Well, And the reason I wanted to read Queer first is because
Hmm.
even though it was published later, it was written first, and it's where he developed his method that he eventually used completely to write Naked Lunch.
Hmm.
That's where he writes a manuscript and he cuts it all up and pastes it back together.
Hmm.
He
Yeah.
started doing that with Queer. That was the first time where he kind of did that. And then he went whole hog into that style with Naked Lunch.
Yes, it's very stream of thought,
Hmm.
which I think is cool and fun, but there's a lot of code words and things in there too that I'm then slang that I'm not familiar with that heaven knows if he even made it up. So it's interesting and it's heavy to delve through because there are some times where I'm like I'm reading paragraphs 3 or 4 times trying to think of the different ways that this is being explained
Yeah.
and what I'm actually
Well,
hearing.
that's why I kind of set it out to the middle of April for us to
Hmm.
do the video. I can push it back even further if
I think
necessary.
I'll get through it. I
Okay,
might just have a review of I don't know what the fuck I just read, but hey,
that's fine.
hey, that's kind of how Burroughs is, from what I understand. So
Yeah, well, so far Queer is easy enough,
good.
but it's like I say, it's like a reporter
Hmm.
reporting on the events, and it's his life. It's
Hmm.
semi-autobiographical,
Yeah.
but it's so dispassionate.
Hmm.
It's a little bit weird. Junkie was the same way. It was like reading a newspaper article.
Hmm.
It was so
Interesting.
dispassionate about, and that one was strange because it's like we went, he first he goes to New York, he moves to New York City, and he tries some. Um, it was first it was what do you call it that you use in hospitals for pain?
Morphine.
Morphine. He got a hold of morphine, and they were getting a hold of it from pharmacists, but then the police cracked down on that, and so then they started getting it on the street. But it was always, get some, take the drugs, and then go out looking for more drugs, and then the police bust things, so then they got to kind of lay low, but then they try to get off, so they go to a hospital and they get themselves clean, then they get out, and then they try some again and they get back on, and so then they go out looking to score again,
True
and so then
addiction.
they're doing drugs again,
Hmm.
and then they start dealing drugs themselves to get money for drugs,
Hmm.
and then they want to get off, so somebody goes to a clinic and gets clean.
Yeah.
And it's just this constant cycle of this, and
Hmm.
that's, they don't even talk about eating, going to the bathroom, going out on
Yeah.
dates.
None
It's
of
just
the
all
things. It's
drugs.
all about the drugs.
It's
Well,
just
I think that's a
nothing but
great way of
scoring.
like personifying addiction
Hmm.
because that really is. It's all about the next fix. It really is.
But there isn't even any emotion to any of
Hmm.
it. Even the times when they're trying to get off, there's no
Hmm.
emotion
Yeah.
to it. It's just went to a clinic.
Got clean
Yeah,
for a
we
few
get
months.
off, got clean for a while.
Tried
It was
some.
hard,
Fell, fell apart
it was
again.
really that
Yeah.
basic and direct and unemotional.
Hmm.
The whole novel was just that from start to finish until
Hmm.
he finally cleans up and stays off.
Huh. Interesting. But he
Um,
was a drug addict himself. Burroughs was. So I mean, maybe that's
yeah,
what his
that
really
was it
like.
was semi-autobiographical.
Yeah.
He fictionalized things, but it was based on his real life,
Hmm.
including he accidentally killed his wife in
Yes,
Mexico.
I did know that.
That's in
Yep.
there.
Hmm. Yep. Man.
And that's also part of Queer because he was, finding male prostitutes even when
Hmm.
he was married.
Yeah.
And there was
Not
only one
uncommon in drug
scene in
culture.
Junkie where he went to a bar and hooked up with a Mexican male prostitute kid.
Mm. Oh well.
I don't tell Gail I'll read this because
Don't read any. No,
this is
it's
so
awful.
there's
It's
so many things that she
yeah.
would object to in this,
Hmm.
which is why it wasn't published for such a long time
Hmm.
because it's not, he was not really a good
No,
person.
good guy.
He
Oh
was
well.
messed up.
Yeah. Well, drugs will do that to you.
Yeah.
And even when you hear him after the fact, he recognizes. Like I've seen some interviews with Burroughs, and he's just like, I don't identify as a junkie anymore. But he's like, that was. He's like, I was a mess.
Hmm.
Like, and he doesn't necessarily. He is kind of cold, too.
Yeah.
Like he's very stoic.
Yeah.
So he even his talking is very unemotional.
Hmm.
He doesn't use like I feel or everything is very factual the way he presents it.
Mm.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah. All
Okay.
right.
So we should probably do this video. We're
Yeah,
we're
let's talk
doing a
about
poll. Let me
We're
refreshing.
just have a little tidbit. Feel free to chop up that last thing we did since
Yeah,
we were
save
recording.
it for when I do Gothic Canada
Yeah,
queer. Um,
we basically did the review already. No,
Not entirely,
no.
but yeah, it's good stuff to
It's
use.
kind of like our Sunday coffee talks. I miss those.
Mm,
Oh well.
well, I would do them. It's just you didn't
Yeah.
really have time, I don't think.
No, we didn't have time and they weren't super.
Yeah,
What
they
didn't
weren't
seem like they
popular.
liked them. Yeah.
I think part of the problem was the sound on them.
Hmm.
It was so noisy when they started making lattes or whatever they were doing back
Hmm.
there, where they had to whip it
Yeah.
and you couldn't even hear us talk. If
Hmm.
we could find something like that where people could hear us, but so many restaurants are like that where you just can't.
Hmm.
Okay, instinct versus reason, a black cat.
All right. I'll get us rolling. Hey guys, welcome back to Telltale. I'm Emily,
I'm Greg.
and today we are going to be talking about an Edgar Allan Poe essay? Question mark? Sort
Yeah,
of thing. It's a really odd one for Poe.
it's put into the stories section of um, the complete
Yeah,
tales and poems of Edgar Allan Poe. It's called a tale. It's in here.
I actually had trouble finding this one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had to
Okay.
scour the internet for this guy,
It's
but
probably
I found
because I
it.
don't think it's very popular. I never heard of it before.
Yeah, I
I
hadn't
came
either.
across this.
But it's called Instincts versus Reason, a Black Cat.
Yep.
And basically, it's a perspective and argument or
Mm-hmm.
debate essay
Mm-hmm.
about if animals are reasoning creatures or instinctual creatures solidly, or if they're a combination of both
Mm-hmm.
or whatnot.
Yeah.
And Poe himself gives the example of a black cat that he once owned.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of the reason this ends up being in stories in the complete works is, or in the works of, is because of its relationship to the story, The Black Cat.
Right.
Recognizing that Poe himself actually had a black cat, actually dealt with alcoholism, and had some realistic things
Mm-hmm.
in that story that were really kind of allegorical to his life.
Though don't pick up this story expecting anything like the Black Cat.
No, absolutely not. This is a total outlier in the works of Poe, from what I understand. And I mean, we've had some outliers with him already, like The Man That Was Used Up and oh, what was the other one? How to Write a Blackwell article
Yeah.
and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Who that were kind of comedies that threw us a bit, but
Mm-hmm. This is more a straight out essay,
this is
kind
an
of like what
essay.
I've been going through with H.G. Wells lately, that they're all essays that he wrote before he started writing any fiction.
Mhm.
His were, of course, more on biology and evolution.
Mhm.
This one kind of relates to that because it, you know, it's presenting that debate between whether animals are operating purely on instinct or whether
Mhm.
they have any capacity to reason and learn.
Mhm.
And anybody who's had a pet dog or cat knows that
They can figure
they're
shit
not
out.
stupid.
Yeah,
They
they're
don't
not
have
dumb.
opposable thumbs. They don't have mouths that can talk like us, but otherwise they are very smart and can learn a lot.
I have a cat who can open doorknobs.
Hmm. Well,
I
and
don't know how he figured that
you can
out.
see all kinds of videos on Instagram where they show cats that
Mhm.
watch somebody doing something and then they go and do it.
Yeah,
It's imitation, but it is learning, it is reasoning, it's seeing, oh, that's how that works. So if I do the same thing, I can get it to work the same way. And
absolutely.
it's not instinct at all. It's not something that comes from jungle,
Hmm.
thousands of years of living in the jungle, killing animals
Yeah.
to stay alive. It's something that they want something and they see, oh, I can open that door if I just push that little lever
Hmm.
and I can instantly get
Yes.
all the cat treats.
Yeah. And honestly, that's the whole synopsis of this essay in and of itself is that Poe had a black cat who could open a latch door.
Hmm.
And we're talking about a latch that needs to be held down in order to flip up the other part and continuously held as the door is opened
Hmm.
in order for you to exit the door. And
Hmm.
this cat learned how to grab that latch hold it down and wiggle its body in a manner that threw the door open while the latch was still being held and let itself out.
Yeah.
Real simple.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just kind of interesting that it's one of those situations where it's like, okay, that is one instance out of, you know, one situation, and you can't necessarily say scientifically that one situation disproves the theory that it's all instinct.
Yeah.
But it does bring up the question of, is this instinctual or did it actually rationally learn how to do this?
Yeah.
And
But
it could be a combination, but
I believe it's rational thought because I
I do
mean I
too.
grew up with a dog, and if we were going somewhere in the car and didn't take the dog, she would tip over all the waste paper baskets and pull
Mhm.
stuff out, mess up all the throw rugs, and then lay on the throw rug in front of the door to the garage so
Mhm.
that when we come in, we would see what she did.
Yes. And I love to I have had cats most of my young adult life onward. And right now I have five. But you can literally sit there and watch them piece it together. Like I've watched them do it.
Hmm.
They just, when they want something, they go for it.
Hmm.
And they will sit there and you can watch them calculate and figure out, am I going to jump on that counter? Should I go from this angle? Sometimes they head towards one direction and like I have spider plants on top of my fridge. And I keep them up there because the cats have a harder time getting up there because I also have the cereal boxes to kind of block them off. But watching my cats go from the table to the counter to the table, like pacing, trying to figure out, okay, how do I jump up there to start chewing on these spider plants that I really want to chew on?
Hmm.
And you can watch their entire thought process be pantomimed out
Hmm.
as they're thinking. And they're definitely being rational about it and
Yeah.
trying to estimate how much, if they have enough leverage to jump up and over the cereal boxes or to jump from the table to the thing. Like you can watch them kind of like stand up a little to try and figure out if they can make it and that kind of stuff. So they're thinking. They are
Hmm.
legitimately thinking.
Hmm.
And I just think it's really silly that this is even a question. To be perfectly
Oh
honest.
yeah. And something I've noticed for dogs is you can see them thinking, just how deep a shit am I going to get into if I do
I
this?
know. And their reactions when they know they've done something wrong, but they still did it.
Mm.
Yes. Cats aren't
No,
so
they
about it.
just
They're just like, I did it.
deal with it.
It's on you now, Mom. Yeah, I made a mess. You clean that up.
Hmm.
That kind of stuff. But
Hmm.
and it's just really funny too. Or like when they want your food, I have my Cyrus. He is a scavenger through and through. Love him to death, but he's a scavenger.
Yeah.
And you can just literally sit him, watch and calculate what angle. Like if I turn my head, you can see him move to the opposite direction to try to get out of my peripheral view to try and sneak. He's stolen entire pizzas
Hmm.
off the counter
Hmm.
and just went to town on the cheese. Like this guy, he's so sassy, but they think. They think, but I think the question, it's not so much a question of if they're rational or not. It is that they are both instinctual and rational, in my opinion. They
Yeah.
have the instinct to want something, to want food, or to want water, or to
Hmm.
want to know what you're doing,
Hmm.
or to want the spider plant on top of the fridge. And that part, I think, is instinctual to want those things for
Yeah.
whatever need they meet. But
Yeah.
for the most part, they are a combination, in my
Hmm.
opinion, where they're both instinctual and rational. But I think humans are too.
Hmm.
Because, I mean, you have a hunger pang, your instinct is to go find food, to
Yeah.
feed yourself
Yeah.
by whatever rational means necessary. If it means making your sandwich or going to McDonald's.
The only difference with us is that we have those instincts, but we have something built in where we deny ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Animals don't have that.
No,
Animals do not deny
no.
themselves.
They don't have that little self-control button.
Well, I mean, in the wild, they're not just going and attacking and eating everything in sight. They
Mm-hmm.
eat until they're full and they're done.
Yeah.
Sharks are that way too.
Yeah.
You know, they're not attacking things if they're not hungry. If they're hungry, they'll attack.
Mm-hmm.
They'll eat a tennis shoe
Yeah.
if they're currently hungry. But if they're not hungry, they swim by and leave you alone.
Mm-hmm. There's this cosplayer that I watch who has this really cute video of one of her original character cosplays. And it's kind of like a you stopped by her shop kind of video, and she's just like this little fantasy character. And she just kind of tells you like, oh, how animals like are born instinctually knowing what to do, like fish when they're born know to wiggle to move through the water, or like spiders when they're born know how to spray their web out of their butts to make spider webs and that kind of thing. And they brought up this really lovely sentiment of, you know what humans do when they're born? They cry for help
Yeah.
because we are meant to be relational beings and we are going to encounter trials that we need the tribe for. And I was like, oh, that's so beautiful and sentimental.
Mm-hmm.
That cuts down the pride a little bit. But yeah, I just thought of that as we were talking about this. And I was like, that really touched me. I wish I could remember that user's name. Shout out to whoever she is.
But the cool thing with spiders, they build their webs in their patterns out of instinct. But when weather or bugs or human beings destroy that web, they don't get mad. They just go and fix it.
Yep. They make another web. They would fix the spot.
They're awesome that way.
Yeah.
They're so patient, and they'll sit there for days and days and days until a fly comes along.
I also think like super cute things about animals, like manatees don't have a part of the brain to get angry. They're extremely non-aggressive animals. Like they will run. They don't attack. They run. They only have flight. And I think that's beautiful. That makes me like, I'm just gonna be that bitch who walks up to manatees and be like, "You're my baby now." If I ever encounter one, now that I know that information.
I have more respect for dogs and cats, though. That when you are a jerk,
they have their
they'll
reasons.
let you know that they're
I
pissed.
like all animals, including the mean ones, because they absolutely have their reasons for being mean.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, not a top tale.
No, but interesting. Obviously, it can.
It leads to great
Elicit
conversations.
some interesting thoughts, and that's what any work of writing, fiction or nonfiction, should do. Is it should make you think about more things. It should lead to these kinds of conversations that go further and deeper than the actual story. Actually,
great icebreakers for conversations with meeting new people or any other number of social skills we need to build. So it's important to read these kinds of things, but
yeah, although
it's a weird thing.
I'm going to rip on Samantha a little bit. When you read the typical Samantha type of book, the kind of conversations it leads to are not something you can read.
Is that even possible to get in that position for intercourse?
Yeah, how do you talk about a book like Gothic Hanover? They're doing things that we can't talk about.
Definitely pornographic. I mean, I guess it's starting the conversation of how do we make the sex talk less taboo?
Yeah.
There you go.
Well,
that's
first
how
we
it
have
starts.
to eliminate the people who think it's so terrible that we have sex.
Oh my gosh. And yet they still enjoy it themselves, probably. Anyway. Hypocrites.
The fashion way is women were not supposed to enjoy it.
Oh, darn.
You're not supposed to like it.
I'm glad things are changing.
You're supposed to put up with it. Put up with it.
Her libidos are probably... Anyway. Yeah, there's a lot of conversations one could have. For sure. But yeah, that's all I gotta say about this one.
Yep.
Real outlier for Poe, but a good conversation starter. Interesting. Really thought-provoking.
And I'm trying to remember the title of the next one. It's something like The Businessman, which doesn't sound like a typical, like the sort of sort of story that Edgar Allan Poe would. I can't do two things at once.
Yeah, it's hard.
Doesn't sound like the sort of thing we expect from Edgar Allan Poe. Yeah, it's titled The Businessman. It was published in February. Where Instinct versus Reason was published in January 29th.
That's my birthday!
Ah, cool. And the next story, yeah, but 1840.
Yeah. Not my birthday.
And the next story was published in February, so less than a month later. And we will get to that as soon as we can. Leave your comments about our conversation here. What do you think? Any thoughts about the conversation, the story/essay, or
tell us fun stories about your pets, and also if you can include pictures, I would appreciate it.
That would be great. Yeah, that's the kind of comments we would love. And
yes.
Put them in publicly.
Or funny videos of your animal doing something crazy. I love that kind of stuff. So, full on. Have fun with that, guys. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.